We have gathered our virtual roundtable this morning. We're joined by Democratic political analyst Marianne Marsh and Republican political analyst Rob Gregory. Good to see you guys. You just heard Jim McGovern. Do you think the Senate, Marianne, let me start with you. Do you think the Senate will lose momentum? Do you think the gas will run out by the time a trial of Donald Trump begins after he leaves office?
No, it will start in a matter of days, and those days will be determined by when the Democrats take control of the Senate and the two newly elected senators from Georgia take office. There will be a trial in the Senate of Donald Trump to impeach him and convict him, number one. And they will also do COVID relief and a host of other things. So to Jim McGovern's point, he's right. They can do all these things. They just need to get started, and that's going to happen any day now.
Rob, that's where I want to go with you. The congressman said a couple of times they can walk and chew gum at the same time, but can they?
Sure they can, but I think a lot of it will be up to Joe Biden. And does he push this or does he tamp it down? Is it interfering with the confirmation of his cabinet secretaries and his agenda, and frankly, attention on his agenda? Because a lot of it will also be up to a national media that's addicted to the ratings that Trump brings, that the ratings that an impeachment would bring. And that will crowd out Joe Biden's message.
They will do all of this because this was a coup. And that if that's not an impeachable offense, I don't know what is. I mean, come on.
I mean, it may happen. I don't doubt that it may happen, but it also could fade away over time.
I want to talk a little bit about the private sector. Rob, some corporations are suspending donations to members of Congress who voted against election certification, while the vast majority have not. Are these temporary measures nothing more than a defensive measure, especially for those that are banning all donations, Rob?
I mean, most of it is window dressing to satisfy a cancel mob that's calling for it, frankly. And part of it is that a lot of these corporations don't like to play the political game, Republican or Democrat. This is an opportunity for them to take advantage of getting out of politics and the headaches it brings entirely. It won't last. It won't last. A year from now, people will be back to their regular giving patterns.
Marianne, is it just no more than a cancel mob?
No, of course it's not. I mean, it's the bare minimum any corporation could do, first and foremost. I mean, the 8 senators and the 147 members of Congress who voted against Electoral College certification should be banned from votes, money, and everything else. And ultimately, I think they will be expelled or charged criminally for their participation in a coup against the United States of America. The mistake the corporations are making is saying we're not giving money to anybody. Do not lump Democrats in with a mob Republican operation that tried to take down our government led by Donald Trump. That's the only mistake they made.
Massachusetts is now 25th out of 50 states in the union in getting the vaccine distributed and into the arms of people. Marianne, let me start with you. Should we just remain patient, or is there something seriously wrong?
By any measure, Massachusetts is a failure, capital F, when it comes to distributing vaccinations. The fact is, we are dead last in New England. Every other state is beating us, including Maine, which is one of the poorest states in the country. You know who's beating us? West Virginia, North Dakota, and South Dakota. West Virginia, the 3rd poorest state in the country. We are 25th nationally. They're number 1, 2, and 3. And by the way, we have the highest rate of death per capita, number 3 in the country, only behind New York and New Jersey. So West Virginia used their National Guard to get the vaccinations distributed, and they're doing a terrific job. North Dakota and South Dakota don't at me because they don't have many people. They have geographic challenges of distance and rural areas more than any other states, and they're getting it done. We're the healthcare capital of the world. We're one of the richest states in the country, and we have fallen on our face when it comes to this part of the COVID.
Rob, is there something seriously wrong, Rob?
I mean, I'd like to say remain patient, but we remain patient on testing, and 9 months later, there's still not enough of it. We remain patient on schools, and 5 months after schools were supposed to open, half of kids are not in school. So I agree with Marianne. I don't think I'm going to be very patient on the vaccination. I think it's time to move to the 75+ category, get these shots in people's arms, and stop doing this staged rollout that's not fast enough.
And bring in the National Guard. Everybody else is.
Lots of names. Let's switch over to the city politics. Lots of names being bandied about who's going to replace Marty Walsh, the mayor of Boston. One of the most well-known names, Willie Gross. What are the pros and cons if he runs? Rob, start with you.
Well, first of all, I think this race will come down to how many candidates are in it and how the vote is split up. But I think the pitfalls for Gross are really that he's never run before. And being a first-time candidate is always a big hurdle. I think John Santiago, Wu, Campbell, those who have run before successfully start off with an advantage in this race.
Marianne?
I think the question is, does Boston want a mayor who met with Bill Barr days after they attacked peaceful protesters in Lafayette Park in the wake of George Floyd's death, who then mishandled a protest in Boston and claimed it was Antifa that caused all the problems, only to find out a few weeks ago it was one of his officers that caused a lot of problems. And oh, by the way, we also just found out that one of his officers also attended the coup in Washington, all of this only when it became public. So the question is that the person you want to run the city of Boston?
It was rumored for weeks, yet even Marty Walsh's team, writing his State of the City address, didn't know that he was about to be nominated as Joe Biden's labor secretary. And in that State of the City address, he made promises to Bostonians with unguarded emotion. Take a look.
The truth is, I'm not going to Washington alone. I'm bringing Boston with me. This city is not just my hometown, it's my heart.
After all these years, Marianne, it's not fair to ask you this question in just a handful of seconds, but what is his legacy, and what about, and what gap can't be filled, if there is any gap that can't be filled?
Well, first and foremost, no one's handled COVID-19 better than Marty Walsh. Before COVID-19, he certainly set the city on an economic renaissance, that now all of it has to be repaired, but he's laid a really great foundation for whomever the next mayor is, certainly Kim Janey for the short term. We'll see about the long term.
Rob?
I think his legacy is that he balanced working people's interests and the interests of the business community in a way that people didn't expect from a former labor leader. He was friendly to business and continued a positive business climate in Boston.